is voting right now to advance the right to IVF. It's considered a symbolic move because, unfortunately, the bill is likely to fail. But Democrats are hoping to put Republicans' feet to the fire close to Election Day.
I'm not asking Republicans to head into combat. All I'm saying is just vote on this. Simply support this bill that represents millions of women's only chance at starting families.
Joining me now, the sponsor of that bill, Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth. She's headed straight to the floor to give a speech, so let's get right to it. Senator, thank you so much just for being patient with us as we were following that live event with the Vice President, of course, there speaking with the NA, BJ, and the journalists there. We wanted to make sure we gave fair time to the former president, who also met with those journalists. This time it was the time for the VP to have her turn. But let's get now to the vote here. It's expected to fail. So I want to hear why stick with this? Why move forward, make a speech, and push for this bill anyway?
Well, because since the last time we voted on it in the early part of the summer, we've had President Trump come out to say he supports IVF. And since the last time we voted on this bill, numerous of my Republican colleagues have come out and said that they support IVF over and over again over the course of the last several weeks. And so this is their chance to come ahead and come to the floor and vote on it. I'm giving them another chance to vote. All this bill does, it's very simple. It just creates a statutory right for you to access assistive reproductive technology, so that if you live in a state where they have defined life is beginning at the minute an egg is fertilized, well, that could potentially prevent doctors from providing you an IVF. And this bill would simply create a federal right for you to access IVF without fear of being treated as a criminal. And so I say to my Republican colleagues, put your vote where your mouth has been for the last 2 months. Come vote for this.
So Trump has said that he supports federal funding for IVF. Why don't you believe him?
Well, because Trump misleads people all the time. But more importantly, it doesn't matter if you have federal funding for IVF if you have state law that is in such a place where you can't access IVF. It's like saying, I'm going to mandate that the federal government pays for automobile insurance for you, but you're not allowed to buy a car. So if you don't have a car, what's the point of having automobile insurance? It's sort of the same thing. In all of these states, state after state after state that have defined a fertilized egg as a human being, it means that doctors who have to discard fertilized eggs that are non-viable, like when I was going through IVF, I created 5 fertilized eggs. 3 were non-viable, so we had to discard those 3 because if my doctor had implanted them in me, they would have caused a miscarriage. And so when we discard those 3 fertilized eggs, that could be manslaughter under many of these states' laws that say that, hey, you're discarding human beings. And so it doesn't matter if Donald Trump says he's going to mandate federal coverage if he doesn't support this statutory right that would be enshrined by this law that we're putting on the floor today that says, you know what, regardless of what the state law is, you have the right to access assistive reproductive technology.
I didn't realize your 5 embryos. You and I both have talked very openly about our experiences with IVF. I, too, had 5 embryos, and I am blessed with twins because of the availability I had to IVF. So, and I don't think you and I ever had a chance to talk about our personal stories. So I hear you, I feel you, and I think it's important that, you know, we are, whether we are journalists or leaders in this country, that we should talk openly and honestly about things like this, because I think for a lot of other people, it carries a sense of shame. They don't feel comfortable telling their personal stories. So maybe this is an opportunity, because I know our time is tight with you. You need to go on and do the business at hand. But if you don't mind, a final question, addressing the role of personal stories. Because it does make an impact when it comes to moving policy forward.
It very much does, and thank you for bringing this up, because I think IVF today is where breast cancer was in the 70s. You know, nobody talked about breast cancer. It was so deeply private and personal, and nobody talked about it until Betty Ford, President Ford's wife, our First Lady at the time, spoke about her own breast cancer diagnosis and treatment, and even brought cameras into her hospital room when she was recovering from treatment for breast cancer. And since then, we started talking more openly about breast cancer, and so many lives were saved because people started getting breast exams, and people realized how many families and people that they love were touched by breast cancer. I think that's where we are with IVF as well. It's why I've talked openly about it, because another woman talked to me openly about her journey and pointed me the way towards the assisted reproductive technology that resulted in me having my daughters. And so talking about infertility is not a shameful thing. It's actually helping to let people know that this is a common human condition, and it is also very human to want to start your families. And that's what this bill is about, creating that statutory right to be able to start your family if you want to, without government interfering in your very deeply personal decisions about when and where to have your family.
Senator Tammy Duckworth, so appreciate your time. Thank you.